Hey, it's me. It's animated me. I'm your host, Andy Burrows, and it's time for another episode of Completed It. Movie reviews, pop culture, celebrity guests, and all that good stuff. Oh, and my good friend over there, Sacha Lari, that's my co-host. Hey, Sach, hit the titles, brother. Welcome, everybody, back to another episode of Completed It. Yes, we're back for another episode. And as you can see, I'm joined by my illustrious co host. It looks like he's sitting in a dark cupboard, but I promise you he's not. Mr. Sacha Alari. Sash, how are you, brother?
All good, mate. All good.
Glad to have you back, my
Glad to
friend.
be
Glad to
back.
have you. Honestly, he hasn't been kidnapped. He's just turned the lights off in his house. I promise everyone watching on YouTube. We are joined by our very special guest. We're back with another great interview this week. Tohoru Masamune. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great, and thank you very much for having me on. I was really looking forward to this. So,
No
so
problem. We as soon as I found out you were available to interview, I've recently got done watching you play the Shredder in
I,
Teenage Mutant
I did.
Ninja Turtles. It took me back to my childhood again. We recently interviewed Ken Scott, who was in the original
Yes,
Turtles movie. We sat down with
yes,
him about a month ago. So to kind of flip it to go full circle, when you were involved in the movie where they were kind of resetting the
yeah.
Turtles. Tell us from your side, my friend, what was that like when you get approached to do such an iconic film as the Turtles? Because we all, like, everyone and his wife grew up watching the
Right.
Turtles. Then you had the original movies, which were a smash hit. Is there any trepidation on your part when they say, "Hey, Toro, we're gonna have you in this role. It's gonna be quite iconic. We're kind of revamping and rebooting a franchise."
Yeah.
What did you think when they first approached you?
Well, other than I thought they were joking, but um, the whole thing was boy, that's a lot to unpack there. A lot of emotions came out. But it's sort of I kind of feel. I guess maybe I'll try and answer um, that the question of trying to tackle such an iconic role, I guess.
Mm,
And that's always, I think, a real challenge for any actor because, and there's such a canon associated with Mutant Ninja Turtles. And my connection with is actually, less the cartoons and more the comic book. Because I
hmm
was actually my actually so weird how life turns out. I was Buddy comes over. This was 84. Buddy comes over. I was in New England at the time. We lived in New England. He says, "Oh, dude, there's this comic book, Ninja Teenage. It's another like crazy comic book he's talking about." That's all right. Well, great. That's wonderful. And he hands it to me, and I loved it. And I was just sitting on. I remember sitting on his bed reading through, and I do remember. I don't. Yeah, I do remember that little. There's that little frame where the shredder's sitting there on the rooftop. I remember, oh, that's cool. That's cool. Shredder. That's cool. So anyway, fast forward. So all this stuff happens. And of course, you see the responsibility. So I understand the whole canon and everything like that. But I kind of felt like, I'm just going to, I think as an actor, a lot of times, the last thing you ever want to do as an actor is imitate. I
hmm
mean, no matter how good you are at it. I mean, some people are so good that have at it, but I kind of feel like it is a reboot. And clearly with Michael Bay, it's gonna be very different, and I think he should do it his way, you know what I
hmm
mean? Whatever his thing is. And so I just started kind of working on my own one step at a time. I started at the comic book level.
Yep.
And I said, let me build this up and see where it takes me. I mean, and I was, maybe nightly I was watching, and again, I realized that was my connection was the comic books, and I love the movies, obviously, and the cartoons, obviously, but I was sort of following that yellow brick road, and I just got into these little comic book stores. I wouldn't obviously tell people what's up, and I kind of go do a deep dive into of all of that, and I was even looking into the whole Matt Murdock, you know,
Wow.
that whole back. Like I really got it. I did a real deep dive, And there's one point where I walked into comic book stores. Oh yeah, yeah. So what do you got for like Daredevil? You know, I just want, because I wasn't as familiar with that. He goes, and I goes, do you have like what would you say is a good starter? And he goes, oh, and he kind of goes, come here. He goes, I got some stuff that will knock your socks off. And he starts going, and 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 I was really I was kind of on that whole journey, and it was becoming what it was, as if I was handed the role. I didn't know who the hell Shredder was.
Mm.
Does that make sense? I mean, I
Yeah.
knew there was some source material, but and even then, I'm sort of thinking this is my character, and I hope that's what they want, and or I hope that that's what them and the entire Ninja Turtles nation wants.
Mm.
But that's and I remember one point he started talking about, there's this one series, and but I don't know, man. I think Daredevil, he was too moody in that. He goes like, I mean, how many rainstorms can you take? And and I thought to myself, wow, my Shredder's getting very moody. I said, I didn't want to be the guy like, oh man, that Shredder. He was like, wait a minute. And I said, I thought, and I started feeling intimidated. All right,
Mm.
I'm gonna f this up, right? I'm going, man, fuck, people are gonna say, kind of thing. Now I'm gonna be this moody shredder. And I thought, well, fuck it, man. That's my shredder.
Yeah.
That's my shredder. So this is who he's gonna be. He's gonna be
Mm.
moody. He's gonna be a moody motherfucker, and he's gonna be, and it's gonna be, and I went in and yeah, first meeting, and he said, yeah, that's what we want. That's what we wanted. The Eric Sachs character is gonna be more the public figure.
Mm.
That's what you are. And it was great. So it was fun. So it kind of worked out, but I think getting lost on the actor's journey in that this is my job versus,
Being a fan.
yeah, that's a problem, right?
Is that hard
But I
as an
realized
actor? Like you say, you grew up and you love the comics, and is it hard for you to go right? Do you put more pressure on yourself to get the role right? Because it's not like a quote unquote normal acting job. You turn up, you're like you were invested in this because you grew up and you read the comics, and you're like, hey, this is like I want to do this. Does that put more pressure on you to?
well, it kind of makes it easier in a certain sense because at some point it almost felt like it's kind of funny. Maybe it's always going to seem a little surreal, but it felt like I was like in my backyard playing Shredder. I'll be Shredder. I'll play Shredder, and that's the level I realized I'm just gonna play it that way.
Yeah.
And so it that kind of relieved the pressure because it felt in a weird sort of way it made there was no doing it right. I mean, kids don't do that, right? When they're playing.
No, true.
Yeah, right. And then I kind of did it on that way. And one thing that was great is, you always think on these big budget movies that, you work on these indies and it's always crazy, right? And you think, okay, well, I can't wait till I'm on these big movies and it'll be nice and organized. And it's insane. And man, it's a bigger it's a bigger shit storm, so it's kind of funny. But I mean it was great. I mean I just that's what it takes. It's a lot of work to make so many moving parts. I could never be like a producer, a big time producer. I mean it's crazy. I couldn't even be like a indie director. I mean it's insane what it takes to put a film together. So but it was like that. And the person that was my dialect coach, like he was kind of like defending me because like other things were changing on the fly and really difficult. I had to learn all the lines in Japanese and English
Wow.
and be ready to do them. And I mean, I know it's a privilege getting
Well,
paid good
I'd have been
money.
asking for a pay
Yeah.
rise.
I would, but I thought, you know what? Um,
It's a
I
gig.
should just do it. That's
Yeah,
the
let's do
challenge.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. And then they there's this last minute change and it was just and I remember sort of saying to my dialect coaches, you know what, this is a gift because I don't even have to act right now because you know what, this scene in the dojo is a height of Shredder's insane, like his insane moment. And I'm thinking as an actor, okay, how often in life do you like get to do a speech with an IMAX camera pointed in your face? Like who gets that, right? As an actor, here's your speech. You're like, no one will. Like who gets that, right? And I'm going, all right, I get to do this. All right. So, and I'm thinking, here's my moment. Here's my moment. And I'm thinking everything is just going imploding and falling apart, and they're handing me new changes that I said, I can't process all this in like the next 20 minutes,
Mm.
and I'm going, and I'm gonna have that frickin', you know, IMAX camera pointed in my face, and I'm going, and I just, and my dialect coach was freaking out and was actually kind of coming a bit to my defense because that's too much. And I'm thinking, I said, you know what, this is like a gift. I don't have to say anything. I just have to start saying the words.
Mm.
It's funny because I think as I was saying it, I started getting frustrated. When you start talking, you start getting a little more angry, and then you kind of get it out. And I
Yeah.
said, yeah. And so it was a bit of a gift. So a lot of the pressures of being the scary guy
Mm.
were kind of maybe one sort of feeling like just a kid, and also kind of dwarfed by the fact that man, there was just so much going on. And I said, you know what, I got a job to do, and it was what it was. And everybody's had the execs were all saying, oh man, that was really, man, you were frightening. That's perfect.
Mm.
And it was really, I was just doing my thing. So yeah, in quiet times, yes, intimidating, but the actual day of,
No problems.
it was kind of fun. I won't lie. I won't lie.
Um,
Kind of fun.
so our last one,
Was it a long shoot or was it like a couple of days or
Yeah, I mean, well, a lot of it was, it was stretched out. Geez, I don't know. I mean, we did those dojo scenes, and there's ton. I did all the voice stuff for it, and obviously there are a lot of stunt people involved. I
yeah.
mean, it was, like when I saw the final character, that's when I felt intimidated. Is when everything was in the can. And I'm going, all right, I'm going to see this thing, and I thought, oh my God, it's like I'm obviously I'm not the scariest guy in the world. I'm thinking. And they're saying on the interview because well, the director is always saying, well, you can't have with if you don't have a good villain, you can't have good heroes,
Yeah.
And I said, well, that's true. And that was and I said, all right, well, I can go on seeing the screening, but realizing there's a whole team supporting it. I mean, it was
mm.
it was such a collaborative effort. I don't know why I get all the credit for it, but and I'm here just to say I was
He's the
definitely just part of the team. I was the guy.
he's the most memorable villain, man. He's like
Yeah,
the super villain of the 80s, man. You were the guy.
I was the guy.
You were the
Yeah.
guy.
you got to
I
play
mean,
an iconic character.
saying that, how does a big film like that compare to, well, I see you worked on another huge movie being Inception. I
Yeah.
know that was way early and stuff and whatnot, but I mean, how would you say the two shoots like compared?
Well, Nolan's sets are very intense. Well, they're both intense.
Yeah,
I felt that Michael Bay set it felt a little more frenetic to me because I don't know. I've noticed like that was my experience on the
yeah,
Inception is like you get so many people and it's amazing how little chatter you hear.
yeah,
Mm.
I mean, that's not movie sets aren't like that, and even on the Michael Bay set, I mean, but it was just like that, and it's everybody, and so which is pretty remarkable to see when you see the scope of everything that's being shot, and just seeing, it's just it's obviously it goes from top down. He's a very intense dude, so yeah, they were different, but they were both one a lot of secrets. Like you have to, like no one tells you, and like no one wants to be the person that said, "Oh, I was the guy that told so and so this, and I wasn't supposed to," that kind of thing. So both of them are very similar, which I just keep my mouth shut and I don't ask questions. I literally I said I don't ask any questions other than where do I stand? What do I say?
Yeah.
Where should I turn my head? And everything, even with like I learned that, remember, with Leo DiCaprio. I said, you know what? He's not here to make a friend and do small talk. So everything we said, which I thought, what's the joy? I get to work with Leo DiCaprio today. And everything we said to each other was about work. How do we do this? How do we do that? Ken Watanabe was pretty chatty. That he's fun, but I thought and so it becomes you realize, okay, this is serious, and I just got to do my job. Is felt more so, and I didn't have a second rest on the Michael Bay set.
Yeah.
I usually hang around craft services and, look at what they
Yeah.
have. I never went once. So they're very, they're intense experience, but they're great. They're not like, hang around. I mean, hang around. I love this kind of shoot too. Just shooting some beer commercial or something like that, where you hang around, you chat it up.
This is the perk of being in such an iconic movies. Toro,
Yeah.
what was the There's been a lot of chatter around. I've watched a few of your interviews as well. So with the Mutant Turtles movie being so good, and it went down really well. Again, I think a lot of people are kind of, well, when we reboot this, is it going to be good? Then they make another one.
Yep.
Were you slightly upset, shall we say, that you weren't in it? Because a lot when researching this show, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah. It was
and I
weird.
read a
Well,
lot, and I watched a lot of your interviews as well, and I'm like, I really want to I want to hear it from him
yeah, yeah.
because I thought, like you said, you done a great job. The movie went down well. Was that just a case of timings wasn't right, etc., etc.? Because everything I was reading online in interviews I read for you was like, hang on a minute, where's this dude? Why is he not Shredder again?
Yeah. Okay. Well, there was, again, as I was saying, I make a point, as on these really big sets, I just don't ask questions. I
Mm,
don't, because you don't know. Yeah. So in that sense, I don't know the real dynamics of what happened. And there was a big shakeup. Like, even, Deborah Zane, like, casting was changed. Uh, but everything was changed. So I said I was part of that. Karai also, like, there was a whole new,
mm,
and I'm not part of those decisions. I mean, and they're the experts on making movies. I don't know. I mean, I think it would have done well to keep it going. I would have loved to have carried on the story a little more of
hmm
my story. But you know what? At the end of the day, I mean, it's almost like, if I find my, they call it, I remember they call it, which is really nice, because a lot of times you just hear about these things, you read about it in the media. Oh, I guess I'm not playing, like, and they're saying they called them from New York, and they all, it was so nice, and they said, you know what, we just want to know you did a great job, and as one executive, we all made a bunch of money, so we're all happy, and he said you did a great, because we, just want you to know we're kind of going this direction, and we're gonna but I just want to make sure it was a really good experience for you.
Yeah,
Wow, is this hot?
is that the side of acting that it's just like you've said a few times now, and it's so true. It's part of the job. You know what I mean? When you
Yeah.
do these kind of things as an actor, you have to be like, okay, and you seem really good with it. You're just like, hey, I accept it. It's part of the job.
Well, you know what, I told them what I said. I knew that my manager told me they're going to call you. And I said, so I was ready, and you'll be impressed. They said, and they were sincere, and they probably were not looking forward to making that call.
Mm.
And I said, well, I stopped it, Andrew, because I said, I was just saying to him, look, um, I go out there now, casting people, producers, they take me seriously right now.
Mm.
Uh, and I said, you guys have as much, if not more, to do with it than anybody on the planet. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
And it was a great experience. One thing, and as I was saying, everything was changed. So I felt like, okay, it's not like everybody went, the bus left family. They're just they're rebooting the reboot, I guess, or something.
Yeah.
I don't know what the reason was for it. I think, who knows? Who knows? That's not my department. But, one thing I noticed, which was really fun, they changed the composer as well. So, it was kind of a different movie. It was really bizarre as a sequel, but
Yeah, it was a sequel that wasn't it was kind of a whole new
it was
movie.
a
When
whole.
you watch it, you think, hang on a minute, not really
Yeah, they did
following.
change the tone
Yeah,
completely. They
they
kind of
just
Oh, they
leaned
changed
in
it.
more. They
They
leaned
180.
changed
in more into the cartoon in the second
cartoon.
one.
I think that was probably
Yeah,
the marketing push, was like, let's
yeah,
be more kid friendly,
Mm.
and who knows. And they completely changed the Shredder role, and I thought, you know what, it's just a different movie. And one thing I noticed, I'm driving around, I have on my playlist, they, sometimes the soundtrack for the movie comes, and there's a song called Shredder
yeah.
on there. And I hear it, I go, oh yeah, they're playing, but now, because they didn't keep using it and they had a new composer.
Mm.
So that was my movie, and that's why I live within the whole Ninja Turtles universe, and I'm really proud of the work that everybody did. I like to think I did my job, and I, so and I kind of feel like, man, at some point, if you're still complaining, I mean, you just got to check yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Like I
Exactly.
caught myself. I was kind of you know, whatever. I was just unloading with a friend. He goes, man, it's kind of, this whole thing. And I just the way also in the anyway, any number of things. I was going through those emotions, and I did say, but I know I'm gonna. And I told him, look, I'm gonna be the first one in line at the premiere,
Mm.
and I'll be
Yeah.
cheering everybody on. And sure enough, I saw a little painful, but I saw it. But it was great, and I emailed with him. Raph is amazing, blah blah blah. So, but I was kind of bitching to a friend. This is prior, and we were going down Sunset, and I was thinking some Billboard or something like that. And I was saying something that I'd read in the Chicago Tribune, blah blah, something, whatever. And I was just like, and she was sort of laughing and goes, I think, man, I sound like some what was that? What was that movie? What was that show? I don't know. Like it just seemed like such a Hollywood cliche,
Yeah.
like that. I thought, man, you know, and I just checked myself. You know what I mean? I
Mm.
think maybe that's good. That I'm actually like having these kind of complaints. So anyway, so at the end of the day, it was what it was, and I love it. So and I think did a great job with the second one. It was a different movie. It was a different
Yeah,
movie. So
it
I don't
was.
miss not being in it.
What
No,
was it like working with Alan Richardson before he was Reacher? Did you ever get
Um,
a
yeah, yeah. I mean, um,
he's now one of the most famous guys on the planet.
it's
yeah,
crazy, right?
now,
Like
yeah.
Yeah.
Back then,
he totally blew up. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I would say, out of all the turtle, like, like you connect to, I mean, as I was saying, I'm usually like all business,
Yeah.
Karai, Manaya, of course, we became close, and we actually do shows together.
Oh
We
yeah.
kind of do a little Foot Clan. We have our little Foot
Your
Clan
Foot Clan
corner.
reunions.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. It's actually kind of fun. And it is neat to kind of go on the road with someone you actually shot something with. And she was, and Jeremy, Donnie, and
Yeah.
he was, we've gone, got, but the other guys less so. But it was, everybody was great. But as far as like connecting and sort of, feeling like, oh, we're, you always make one or two friends off a set,
Yeah.
and you kind of get, people, and they're always great.
Mm.
But there's inevitably maybe one, maybe two people out of each project that you say, oh, yeah, we became kind of friends over time. But so yeah, it was kind of, he was great. But yeah, you're right. But it was fun is seeing him blow. It was fun seeing him blow up. It
Yeah.
was just
Wow, he is. Yeah, he is literally one of the most recognizable faces on the planet. Toro,
Yeah.
just finishing up, my friend. If you had to, we're very fortunate. We spoke to some really good actors on here, great actors like yourself. What's the good side to being an actor? What's the downsides to Hollywood? If you had to advise someone, because a lot of people go into acting, go, oh, I want to be in movies, I want to be on the big screen, I want to be on TV. What advice and stuff? What if you had to tell someone, hey, look, this is the good part of the business. What's the not so good part of the business that you would advise people when they're getting into this
the not
industry?
so good part.
Yeah, what advice would you give to the people getting into this industry? You say like Sacha was saying at the start, you've been in Inception, done Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., done so many things. When someone comes to you and says, "Hey, Tora, I wouldn't mind a little bit of advice if you could tell me like the darker arts just to watch out for in the industry," what would you tell them?
What to look out for? Well, I think you got to realize what you've gotten yourself into. And I think maybe as an artist, it's well, I guess human being is it's going to feel kind of weird, and it's not there's a reason why you know good parents still talk their kids out of it, or like or good friends, true friends will try to talk you out of it. And actually even my dad, he's like, and he's going, well, it must be what you want to do because everybody's telling you not to, and everybody
Mhm.
was. And but I kind of feel like the advice is, and I got great advice when I came to town. My first housemate, still a very close friend of mine, and he goes, "Well, you got to make that decision when you walk in that you're a lifer. You're not there. Let's give it 5 years. You have to make that decision right now. You're a lifer, and that's what it is. And this is your life. And realizing that even when it's like it's either people aren't, you don't, people aren't treating you like you, or they're not giving you the respect that maybe you feel like you deserve, or or there's just no work. It's like, a desert, and you feel like falling off the face of the earth, all these things. It happens to everybody, and just realizing that, yeah, but guess what? I'm an actor.
Mm.
This is my life, and everybody told me this going into it. It's not like, I mean, maybe I was ignoring them and not really understanding what they're saying, but realizing at the end of the day, every so often that phone rings and you're on set and you're doing something crazy.
Mm.
And if it only happens a few times in your life, that's a gift, especially if you're an actor. So I think there's that decision. It is a lifer, and you're going to take all that goes with it.
Mm.
And whatever it takes you to get through those bad periods can be extended. They can go very deep. But know that you knew that going into it, and you just, maybe it's good.
So you have
Maybe
to
as
be,
an
you
artist,
probably have to be patient as an actor.
patient,
Yeah.
patient, and sort of think that, why I keep pushing through, because, for that weird phone call, that,
Yeah.
oh, it's my
I have
agent.
to I have to
Yeah.
ask one last thing. Bond for Justice,
Yeah.
Sonny Chiba,
Yeah.
was that his last film?
It was his last film. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. Did you
Wow.
get to meet him at all or not?
I didn't.
Oh
The
man.
director was is a very close friend, and you know
Oh,
how it
okay.
is. When you're
Yeah.
on rolls, you just miss each other.
Oh
That
man.
was me.
But
Like he
hey,
was. Oh, he just left like 5 minutes ago. It's
you
like, wow,
gotta be in a
man.
Sonny Chiba film, man. That is one martial arts legend, man, right there, man.
Well, yeah.
Wow.
Sometimes I think, and as I was saying, my memory of the film is just with
Yeah.
the guys I worked with. So I don't. It doesn't, it's not like the
Yeah, yeah,
last
yeah.
down with Sunny, in the final scene, I mean, so I didn't have that, but I do think about it every so often, you sort of think that that's cool, and, I saw,
Yeah.
so that is, yeah, yeah. Thank you for bringing it up because it was a great
I
experience.
had to when I saw it. I was like, "Oh my God, man! That is one guy that very few people have worked with in Hollywood." You know,
Yeah,
it
probably
doesn't
about
matter
six.
that it doesn't matter that you didn't meet him. It's the fact that you worked on a
You're in, yeah,
project
in his
and you
film, yeah.
worked in his two final projects, really. So,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
and yeah, so that's something I do think about every so often, that it's you know it's a blessing, right? It's a
yeah.
blessing.
Mm,
As an
definitely.
actor yourself, what sort of roles attract you to? Is there any kind of roles that you'd be more attracted to? Play, or what's your dream role that you've ever
Well,
wanted to kind of
that's
do?
always an
And
interesting question.
also what kind of actors kind of inspired you to go this course? And is there anything that you'd like to do that was kind of like you know, what your inspirations kind of did?
Well, I thought this thing like really early, like when I was a kid, before I even knew I wanted to be an actor. I mean, I always loved like the young Dustin Hoffman,
Oh yeah,
and that was when I started thinking of, oh, and without even thinking about I want to be an actor, saying, oh, that's cool. So there is that part of me. I kind of feel like, I'm very much one of these actors. I like to sort of embody whatever I'm doing. However successful I end up being, I just want to, embody these characters. So I do, like that type of work. I mean, I could go on forever for all these actors I admire. But as far as type of roles, yeah, and so I do want to, like, in other words, whenever I do something, I want it to be real. I know it sounds like a cliche, but truthful. But when it actually something really happened in front of the camera, and you just hope for that one take, and you got caught off guard, and you actually were a good actor.
mm,
Like something distracted you. Like that's why I thought it was great that on the Michael Bay thing. Okay, I was walking on, and everything's insane. I said, "All right, I'm ready. I'm just going to start saying the words now." And I kind of feel like they are. All the great acting in my life anyway. All seems to be an accident. So you know, as so I want to be that kind of actor where
Well,
everything I'm putting up there is
yeah.
real. But in answer to your question, dream role, I was man, I don't know. I love the journey, and I'm very fortunate. I get to play a lot of different types of roles. I don't know why. I've never had to do the whole branding. I mean, I don't know why. I just get, and they're weird. They're stranger and stranger. And I bet, so to me, what's my dream role? The next one, because
Wow.
that I don't know, like the next, there, each one is just, is like like another journey, and they never seem to be the same. So yeah, so that's my question. But yeah, I'd say early one probably. That was the first thing I said. It's early Dustin Hoffman, like, oh, that's good stuff. So anyway,
Troy, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on our
yeah.
show, my friend. What are you up to right now? What's going on in your life at the minute? Tell our people watching this what you're up to in 2025.
Well, I was looking next. Why? I mean, I'm doing the shows. I'm doing Pasadena Comic Con. I think if anybody's in Pasadena area, that's the next appearance. Doing some writing. Trying to produce a play. An ancestor of mine, actually in the 20s, was actually a pretty prominent playwright in Japan, and he does. There's this one play that I'm actually rather coincidentally castable in the lead, and I'm trying to get that produced. There's that. Working on this other thing. So a lot of things in development right now.
Okay.
But as far as like the next actual appearance, I'm going to say Pasadena Comic Con, and if you go to I guess my Instagram, I can I usually try and let people know when I'm showing up next.
Perfect. Well, if you ever need a visit to the UK, we have plenty of Comic Cons over here, my friend. I know
Oh,
the fans would
please,
love
yeah.
to see you.
I will. In fact, I'm gonna make a text over to my rep right after this.
You let me know when you're coming to the UK, brother. We're
Listen,
coming. We'll definitely come and see you in person, my man. That'll be
I would
great.
love that.
Tora, thanks so much for coming on the show, my man. We really do appreciate it. You said a minute ago, luck in acting. You have no luck, my friend. You are a true genius at what you do. Keep doing what you do, my friend. It was a pleasure to sit down and chat with you, brother.
It was absolute pleasure, chatting with you guys, and thank you so much for having me on the show. And I really hope we can just shake hands in person.
Dude, the second you hit the UK, me and Sacha will be there to meet you, my man. We'll see you at a Comic Con over here, no doubt. But if anyone wants to check out this show, just go onto YouTube, type in @Completed It Pod. It's where you can find this episode and all our episodes. We've got the Jeffrey Wiseman in there. We've got Tom. The Tom Arnold interview is on there and doing really, really well. And we've got our Star Wars 30th anniversary Revenge of the Sith show dropping soon. But till next time, everybody, I've been your host, Andy Burrows. Stay safe.